Kicking it with KC show.
On the newly rebranded Two Line Students Radio Network, we will continue to bring you the hottest, most interesting guests and commentary in the areas of social, politics, culture, music, and more. Continue to tune in.
Let's go, give it to you.
He's the brain of operations.
I'm telling you right now, book it!
And him, he's along for the ride. But together, they bring you sports like you've never heard before. The Wait a Minute Show, a new way of discussing today's trending sports topics. And now, back to the show with your host, Jolani J.B. Bodie.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Again, this is the Wait a Minute Show. So before we get into this NCAA thing, I said it before, I'll say it again. TheWaitAMinuteShow.com. Make sure you go in there and follow us on Twitter and Facebook. And that way you can get notifications of any live shows that go on Saturdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can get in there and chat with us just like we're doing tonight. But also, we do Facebook Live as well. So we do a video broadcast so you can watch the show as well if you want to. So you can watch it or you can listen to it. Some people are driving like Tiffany PMP, so they listen. Some people be sitting at home and they can watch it. So whichever way that you like to get it down, but make sure, show your boy some love. Get on there, TheWaitAMinuteShow.com, and follow the show. Saturdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Me, you, and Lopan. Sounds good to me. Indeed. That's right. So, like we were saying before, or I was saying before the break, is that this whole NCAA thing, It's almost here. It is almost here. And I think really what is probably going to go on is that they're going to push this thing back and they're going to lift it up, put it on the shelf, let March Madness run through. And then after that, they're going to bring it back off the shelf. And then this thing is going to pop off. And it's already, getting there. We started out with, coaches being arrested and executives being arrested, the FBI, being involved in this. Then we went into the point of where people were saying, that there's a report that's still out there, that there's going to be other schools because, initially it was schools like Auburn and all this stuff. And it's just like, you can't tell me it's just these schools that are not powerhouses, in college basketball, at this point. So there's going to be other schools. There's going to be coaches. There's going to be, AAU people. There's going to be a long list of people that's going to come out. And now we got some of this, being leaked out at this point. And again, on the score, if you're not, check the score out. It's pretty good, pretty cool information that they give, on here. But now there is a list, and I use that loosely, for a document that was obtained by Pat Forty and Pete Thamel of Yahoo Sports. And basically this whole federal investigation into this whole thing about college basketball being, corrupt. None of us is surprised by that, but they're saying that there is some new financial documents that are appearing to link former NBA agent Andy Miller, who was working at ASM Sports, to a bunch of basketball players that's in the league right now that would definitely open the box on this whole thing as far as like what's going on. And here are some of the names that is being listed on this document. And they're saying that it was entitled, quote unquote, loan to players. And these are supposed to be like cash advances that they gave to players who are pretty much either in the NBA, was in the NBA, or, whatever. So they got Kyle Lowry on here from the Raptors. They got Markelle Fultz. They got Kyle Kuzma, a.k.a. Flinttown. Dennis Smith Jr. They got Bam Adebayo. They got another Raptor, Fred VanVleet. And these are all pretty good, schools. I mean, Kyle Lowry went to Villanova, Markelle Fultz, Washington, Kuzma went to Utah, NC State, Dennis Smith Jr. went to, Kentucky is on here, Wichita State, which is Fred VanVleet, the New York Knicks for Kyle O'Quinn, Nerlens Noel, and then they got Isaiah Whitehead, who went to Seton Hall, and there's some other people that's on the list. So basically what I'm getting at is that these aren't just guys who were riding the bench, if you will. Nate Robinson is out there at this point saying that someone, a booster, tried to pay him $100,000 to come back and play football. He was playing his freshman year. He was playing football and basketball, so he decided to just focus on basketball. But they wanted him to come back and play football. Now, he said this in on his podcast that he has with Carlos Boozer, about this whole situation. Here's my thing, on it. None of us are surprised by this. So we don't have to do the, oh my gosh, line or anything like this. We already know that this thing has been going on for years, and the whole thing is wrapped around. And here's where, to me, the NCAA messed up. For years, people such as myself, other fans, people in the media, people, coaches, whatever, players, they have been saying for years that you need to pay these players. However way you want to do it, figure that out. But break them off a check. I think Steve Kerr said that, or they need to be paid for their likeness or something like that, which I talked about how you'll see these kids on video games and they got the same jersey number, but they just ain't got the name. A little brown basketball player running around and you trying to act like that's not Ed O'Bannon, or you got a little white basketball player, running around and you're trying to act like that's not Christian Laettner, and just like you're not fooling anybody, with this whole, but pay the kids, with their likeness, at this point. The NCAA, to me, had every opportunity in the world to do that. Now this stuff is going to come out, and you can't possibly tell me, because here's, let me go back. Nate Robinson was talking about the $100,000. Well, the University of Washington is going to come out, and they're going to say, well, we didn't know anything about the $100,000. Really? You really expect me? You didn't know an inkling? Well, you know what? They probably didn't, because it's the same thing as if you're standing in a room and somebody is a drug dealer and they walk into the room. Chances are that drug dealer ain't in there just to see how everybody's doing. That drug dealer is in there to deal drugs. So if you turn your head and look out the window and say, I wonder what the birds are doing today. Oh, look at Father McPherson. He's cutting his grass. And then the drug deal goes down and then you turn back around. That doesn't constitute you as not knowing. Big L said it in the chat room. You don't want to know. I think he's talking to me. They don't want to know. That's what that is about. They're trying to use this middleman, which is the boosters. You make a call. You don't use the words of pay them. It's code word. The boosters goes and pay them, or the boosters already know what their responsibility is. The NCAA is, and then the thing about it is that just like they want to try and act righteous and take away Louisville's title in 2013 and their wins and all this stuff, or they want to, punish other, schools like SMU, for all the stuff that they were doing. I think they gave them the death threat or death, whatever you call it, death sentence for SMU. And you the dirtiest person, just because the money is not coming straight from your hands, the NCAA, doesn't mean your hands aren't dirty. You let these kids go around. You let these boosters on your. If that's the case, then you know who these boosters are. You're just turning a blind eye. So then you're not held accountable for anything. It's the oldest trick in the book. You sit there, you don't pay attention, and then you can deny everything. Death penalty. Thank you, Mocha Bella. I said death sentence, death penalty. So death row, but it's a joke. It's a joke, and it's just a matter of time. And they need to. Now, will this happen? Probably not. Because there's no telling how deep this thing goes. There is nobody in the NCAA that's up there with Mark Emmert or anybody else that you're going to try and tell me that, we got a bunch of clean people that operate through the NCAA. Because we just saw it at Michigan State. Stuff go down, all of a sudden people retiring and resigning, and all this stuff. And then they're not held accountable for anything. That's the thing, about this. And then the other thing, with the NCAA and paying these players or paying for their likeness and all this stuff, and you're trying to sell these kids on talking about, we're paying for your education. Or then you want to try and say, well, that money goes towards all the other sports. That is a misdirection. I'm sure some of that is true. I'm not going to deny that or anything. But if you're Alabama, if you're North Carolina, if you're Michigan, if you're Michigan State, if you're Georgia, if you're Florida State, if you're Florida, and the list goes on and on of these schools that bring in millions and millions and millions of dollars. Here's the thing. You can't sell me on what the past used to be, and you want to try and sell me on that as the present and the soon-to-be future. And what I mean by that is that, guess what? When kids were going to school to Alabama, at some point, there wasn't a TV deal. Notre Dame wasn't on TV every week. At some point, you didn't have the paraphernalia being sold across the country. Your school jersey with a certain player's number, on the back. That changed. Okay, that changed. The schools got bigger. Okay, the contracts, they start asking for money. Okay, they want to be on TV. You want money. Okay, the coaches, they come in and say, look, if I do this, get all these recruits to come here and we win a national championship, I should be paid accordingly. Okay, everything has changed except for one thing. Keep the talent blinded as much as possible. And defer. You get these boosters, you get all whatever else that you want, and let their hands get dirty while we sit back. And if anybody got Netflix out there, and I'm going to the side for a second, if you got Netflix, make sure you watch this thing called Dirty Money. If you haven't watched it, you need to watch it. Dirty Money. And to me, the reason I say this is because it's about big-time corporations getting away with stuff and using kind of the same thing. Oh, we didn't know, or this is someone, acting independently of us and using rules. And, I'm just saying, it is not exactly like the NCAA, but you get the idea of